He's got a new ad, Barack Obama, that's been running this week in some of the battleground states, saying if you like the economic policies, what's happened over these past almost 8 years under George W. Bush, you're going to love John McCain's economic policies. I'll play a little clip for you.
John McCain, he's got new ads attacking Barack Obama on taxes.
Well, that's not new. Bush, McCain, Karl Rove, that's how those guys work.
Oh, yeah, but this is shameful. It's just making stuff up. Because that's why they say John McCain, mixed same as Bush.
Are there any significant economic differences between what the Bush administration has put forward over these many years as opposed to now what John McCain supports?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, take for instance the issue of I'm drawing a blank, and I hate it when I do that, particularly on television. But take for instance the contrast on NAFTA. I mean, I think that the bigger issue is credibility in where one is coming from. On are they consistent where they come from? John McCain has consistently stood against earmarks throughout his tenure in the United States Senate. Regrettably, the president has not been exactly busy with the veto pen on earmarks. I mean, there's just one contrast alone. It's particularly
But let me
relevant.
get back to what you raised the issue of NAFTA. I don't see, he's a huge supporter of free trade, John McCain. The Bush administration supports free trade. I don't see a big difference between the two of them on NAFTA.
I was going to go to a point. I was going to go to a point, which is what you'd want is consistency with regard to that position. What I think is more relevant is Obama had said during the primary process, we've got to go ahead and redraw NAFTA, and now his comments have been much more tepid post-primary about, well, maybe...
Right, that's a major difference between Obama and the president, but as far as NAFTA is concerned, McCain and Bush are on the same page.
They are, for free trade. And if you think it'll help our economy, given the troubled economic times that we live in, lining up a bunch of trade barriers, I think it's at odds with the reality that has brought about job growth and a lot of economic job creation.
But beyond the issue of what's called pork barrel spending or the earmarks, is there any other issue on the economic issues, whether tax issues, energy issues, that you see a significant difference between what we've seen in recent years by the Bush administration and what John McCain would do if president?
Yeah, I mean, you could go down a number of different bills. I mean, if you look at the steel bill that went through way back when, Bush and McCain were opposite sides on that one. If you look at...
well, they were opposite sides early on in 2001 and 2003 on the Bush tax cuts, which John McCain, along with Lincoln Chafee, among the only other Republican, voted against. But since then, John McCain says he endorses making those tax cuts permanent.
Which I agree with, and a lot of folks across South Carolina or across the nation, I think, agree with. The issue there is, can we get to economic prosperity by raising taxes? I think it's also relevant, again, if you look at that whole issue of, again, policy. Look at the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill was a very modest approach where McCain was to trying to say, we got to rein in some of this stuff. You know, Obama talks about change that we can believe in, and yet his approach was not to curtail the benefit packages to people who might get as much as $2 million. You might be making as much as $2 million in a family sense, household, or $750,000 in an individual sense as an individual farmer. Bush and McCain had wanted to lower that to about $200,000. I don't think that you're going to get out of the mess that we're in if you won't even take small approaches to saying we ought to limit subsidies to somebody getting $2 million a year in income.
Governor, we're out of time, but a quick question. Have you already been asked for the vetting process by the McCain campaign? In other words, have they started asking for some of your tax records and have started asking you formal questions?
No.
Because you're widely considered to be on that short list.
Yeah, generous and kind, but again, I'm just trying to survive the week. I've made it till Sunday, kind of excited about it.
But what's the answer? Have they asked you for any documents?
No, sir. No, sir.
Not yet. All right. Well, we'll stay in close touch with you. Governor Mark Sanford of South Carolina, thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure.